Hello everyone, it's Seth Chandler and welcome to this edition of Slab Lab. Very excited to have the esteemed collector, Mr. Walt Husak, here with us, specialist in early copper. And you have a fascinating story. We've met a couple times before in the past, and I know you have a lot that our viewers can learn from you because you've been collecting for a very long time and you put together some really advanced collections. So again, welcome to Slab Lab. Appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks for having me here. I'm enjoying being at the show again after a year and a half, and displaying my coins now one more time.
Yeah, it's an amazing collection you have on display. Mr. Husak has mentioned this is the first Long Beach coin show in well over about a year and a half, and it's good to be back. It definitely is good to be back. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, like your story?
Well, basically, I was born in Chicago. The only reason I was born in Chicago is because my mother was so scared of living in LA because they bombed Pearl Harbor and they were shooting up the skies here. Went back to Chicago, was born, came back 2 months old. I've been an LA boy all these years.
Wow, okay. So what year was that?
1942.
1942, okay, gotcha. Wow, you've seen some amazing things in your lifetime then.
Definitely, and just kind of grew up in the LA area, and that's where I started collecting cents and nickels. Actually, Buffalo nickels was my first thing I started collecting.
Right, okay.
Buffalo nickels, then went to Lincoln pennies, then Indian heads.
So I've always told people this. I mean, Los Angeles and the whole area being one of the largest in the United States, I've always felt that this is one of the best collector bases in the country, because not only do you have, it seems like 50, 75 different coin shops in the area, but you've had the Long Beach show a couple times a year since the 1960s. You have a lot of coin dealers that are based here. PCGS is based here. So it's a very vibrant and thriving community. So it's, you kind of grew up in the right environment. So you said you mentioned collecting Buffalo nickels. Like, how did that start? How old were you?
Oh, I was like 12 years old. My mother worked at a restaurant, and she'd get tips. So one of my jobs when I was 12 to keep me occupied, count her change.
Right. Okay.
And all of a sudden I realized, what's these Buffalo nickels? And then I started collecting them. I remember getting around $5 worth, and I had a little bank, and they disappeared. Somebody came in and took them. Well, it didn't stop me, just kept on collecting them. But then, then I got another collection, then I started collecting Lincoln pennies, Indian head pennies. Back one time, I was like 13 or 14, my father from Iowa, I was back there visiting him, and went to the bank with him. He worked there, and this gentleman, oh, you collect coins? I says, yeah. He has 6 pennies, Indian head pennies. And I looked at him and says, oh, would you like to buy them from me? I said, well, yes. What do you give me for them? $2 a piece. Ooh. Well, in those days, they're worth a dime or something like this, but I looked at them, and there was 2 of the same date on there. So I said, I'll take them. And he did it, showed them to my grandmother. She lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And she started crying because she was born in 1879, and these are pennies. It's like Jack and a Beanstalk. Wow. You got these things. So I felt bad. So I took the duplicate, went to a coin shop, and he gave me $15 for the one.
Wow.
It was an 1864 L. It was like an AU coin. The other one was better. I had an 1871. They're all perfectly beautiful coins. I could have become a coin dealer at that age, but
you're like, something's going on here with this coin collecting thing. Yeah.
No, this is crazy.
Wow.
But I kind of, set it aside. I didn't want to sell my coins.
Right, I hear you. Okay. So you're like an early teenager at this point? Okay. Then how did your collecting progress from there?
Well, it kept on going until I was 20 years old, 21. And I was having marital problems. I got married when I was 17. That was kind of ridiculous. But when you're young and you're working hard and start working, I said, the family's first. So I sold the collection and bought a car. That helped us out a little bit. And
everybody definitely wants to know what the car is. So go ahead and tell us what the car is.
Yeah, well, the car eventually wound up, it was actually a TR3. They got rid of it because my wife and I are having our 3rd child. And then I bought a 54 Cadillac convertible.
That's a cool car.
Yeah, it's pistachio green, and drove that thing for 6-7 years. Loved to go to Vegas with it. It was a great car, but I finally had to get rid of it. Sold it in '69, bought it back, the same car from the same person. And met him 18 years later at a gas station. Couldn't believe it was my car. I sold it to him for $25, and it cost me $4,000 as is. And I had to restore the whole thing, but it's a beautiful car. It's a running car today.
Wow, wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so when did you? So how was your 20s collecting coins? Because I've always said that once you're a collector at a young age, most people maybe take a break. They have kids. They have life. When did you kind of come back in a little bit more?
1980.
1980. Okay.
1980. A gentleman gave me a coin collection of investment stuff to sell, and I sold half of it. And I had a partner on this thing, and so he said, well, I don't want all this stuff. He wanted cash, so I gave him some cash for the other. And then 7 months later, I'm going through this stuff, and I got a red book, and I didn't know what a 1943/2 Jefferson nickel is. And I wound up with 30 of them.
Wow.
Because I had 15 rolls of 1943 Ps. And 30 of them, it was just like finding a needle in a haystack. It was great profit again. And so I started collecting silver dollars and everything. But in 1993, Coin World came out with all the Sheldon numbers, especially the 1793, 1794 large cents and the Sheldons. And I said, I want to start building something like this. And by 1995, I was starting to build my large cent collection.
Okay, so what made you, you had done silver dollars, buffalo nickels, the Median cents. What made you say, okay, I'm going all in on large cents?
Oh, it was the fine. You just can't build something that up in 1 or 2 or 5 years, and it took me only 13 years to build up my first collection. And it was fun. It was fun, and when I sold it off because I kind of needed some money and found out it didn't need it, but then with the building boom and everything else and all the housing went off in 2008, I'm glad I sold my collection. But then in 2009, we went to the Dan Holmes auction, started giving them back and buying some of these coins again.
So you built your collection over about a 13-year time frame.
Yes.
What was how many different coins were in the collection?
There was like 294. I was missing 3 coins.
Okay, that's
The
intense.
the Sheldon 15, the Sheldon 79, and the Sheldon 80. And I remember the one guy, Dan Holmes, I kept on offering him $250,000 for his, Sheldon 79.
Explain more than the Sheldon number, like what the coin is a little bit.
Oh yeah, the Sheldon 79, it was the reeded edge, finest known. He bought it in 1994 before everybody got into all this stuff. And we used to talk about and kidding around, but he knew that I was serious, and he said, I don't want to sell this, but it was always fun to talk to him. And that's the coin that sold for $1.2 million in 2009.
Wow.
It was just like unbelievable.
So just to give me an example, what would that have coin been worth like in the 1960s or 70s when you first started getting, you're a young man, like what would that coin have been worth?
Maybe $10,000, $20,000.
Wow. So it's that desired of a coin.
Oh yes. There's only like around 7 or 8 of them known. It should have been a non-collectible. But Sheldon put that in 1949 as a collectible, a Sheldon number. And there's a couple other ones there, and some of the non-collectible ones, since they've written about them. Now there's up to 20 or 23 of them should be a Sheldon number.
Okay.
But over time you start finding all these coins.
Sure. So a lot of our viewers, they're all walks of life collecting coins. A lot of people collect state quarters or Morgan dollars. Can you kind of give me the broad picture of what exactly is large cent collecting, when they started, when they ended, and who is William Sheldon?
He was a doctor for posture for people in college. I don't remember this part, but then he was attracted to the large cents, and he took all these different numbers and put them together as one book and ran the Sheldon numbers from 1793 to 1814.
Okay.
And he had 95, and every die they figured this made, and the next die was broken, and they had to put the next number on it. And so they came out, and you have Sheldon, and then Second, I'm trying
Newcomb?
to remember. No, it wasn't Newcomb.
Crosby? Okay.
Well,
yeah.
it's like Del Bland,
Sure.
and it was somebody else, and they reversed some of the numbers, A, B, and C. So there's always, little figure out which number was next.
Sure, like the little nuances, you're really
Right,
defining it, yeah.
So you're really refining it, and Bream, Walter Bream,
Okay.
he came up with a book, and with the Walter Bream's account, there's some different choices, but these are two different books. But basically, Sheldon won out because everybody kind of going to the Sheldon, and Walter Bream's book is secondary, but it's still a good one to invest in as in your library.
And so Dr. Sheldon's book is called Penny Whimsy.
Yes.
Which is an outstanding name. Every collector that's slightly interested in large cents or just want to explore the early history of American coinage should obtain that book for sure. It's a
Definitely,
great book.
yeah. It's a great, if you like to read in the history, but it was written in 1949, rewritten in 1958. It's old technology, but it's very still interesting, It'll take the time.
So a lot of our viewers probably need to have a little bit more of an explanation in the sense that, you have it, to some people, you look at a 1794 cent, that's all it is a 1794 cent. But why don't you explain like how many different varieties are there, and there's a thriving collector's market to obtain every different.
Well, the 1794 is my favorite year. 1793 is my second for, even though you have, the chain cent, the reef, and the Liberty cap. The 1794, it's all Liberty caps. You have the head of 93, the head of 94, and the head of 95. But there's 58 different varieties in the Sheldon numbers.
Wow.
Then you have another 11 non-collectibles.
So if you want to collect all the different 1794 cents, which to the novice collector, they all look the same, but there's subtle little differences.
Yes. Yeah.
There's 69 different varieties.
69.
Wow.
I only collect the Sheldons. I don't collect the non-collectibles. And that's 58. And some are so rare too, like the S37, and the S18B. Very few of them out there, and so they do, perform high prices when they do come up.
Sure.
And the Star Reverse there's actually over 50 of them now, but there's still everybody wants a Star Reverse.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. Some young die designer at midnight was like, you know what? Let's make a bunch of stars around the reverse on the perimeter. I'd highly encourage everyone to go to PCGS's Coin Facts and type in 1794 starred reverse large cents. It's really a little cool nuance.
Oh, it is. It is.
You can see it with the naked eye.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you take the Sheldon 13, which is a Liberty cap, and they have dots on the reverse. On the reverse, they took that same die in 1794 and put denticles around it over the dots, but you can't see the dots.
Wow.
And they put that on the Sheldon 63.
Okay. Wow.
I believe it's the 63. I got to do my research on that, but here it is. And we discovered 40 years ago, or no, 10 years ago, you could take a photograph off of one and the other, and you match it right up.
Right. Wow. That's
You can see
fascinating.
that.
Yeah.
It is. It's very fascinating what they're still discovering about these coins.
And it's a footprint of the creation of early American coinage. You see how they got better,
Right.
what mistakes they made, and how they corrected it on the next. It's almost like a manufacturing. It is a manufacturing.
It is a
plant.
manufacturing.
Yeah,
Why
really
we
is.
have so many die varieties from 1793 to 1814 is the steel. They'll break after 4,000 or 5,000 times. They'll make mistakes, and by the technology, by 1816, they had better machines, and they started manufacturing more money a lot faster.
I see. So give us an example. So if there's 69 different varieties of 1794 large cents,
Yes.
the second year, the last year, 1857, how many different varieties?
2.
Okay, so they nailed it.
They nailed it, yeah.
They nailed it, okay.
Right.
That's fascinating to think when you look back,
Yeah.
just the progress that was made year by year. And I'm sure the numbers just go down. Some years it's 30, some years it's 20. So,
But
wow.
then you get in the early dates, very few. You get in the middle dates, they're making 2 to 3 times as many, and there's more of them out there. Some people want to collect Sheldon, some people it's middle dates or late dates. But the hardest one is to collect is the early days, the Sheldon numbers. They're just not that many of them around, a little bit more expensive, but you know, especially in high grade, they're something you really want.
Right.
If you want to collect all, you know, uncirculated, red and brown, uncirculated, hit the late dates.
Yeah.
Much easier.
Right.
Much easier.
I hear quote pretty coins to some people. Yeah, sure.
Right.
So, you know, one thing that I've always, you know.